Jamison,
Ryan, how's it going?
how are you, brother?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. It's good to see you. I miss you.
Good to see you too. I miss you too. Can't wait to have you back on the West Coast.
Someday. I'm probably headed back out there. Well, appreciate you doing this. Just want to give a 2-second intro. But we have Jamison Hill from Bain Capital Ventures joining us from the newly quarantined San Francisco. So obviously would love to just start with kind of what it's like being an SF right now, any of the kind of things you're doing to get yourself set up at home to just get used to working like that. Feel free to jump in kind of anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, truly, like the one word that just comes to mind when I think about what it's like in SF right now is just surreal. Nothing, you sort of feel like you're in this moment out of time where, nothing is kind of functioning as it normally would or should. I think like the best kind of feeling that I sort of likened it to was the feeling between like Christmas and New Year's, where kind of everyone feels a little bit out of sorts.
Yep.
So that's what it feels like. I did not have a work from home setup before coronavirus hit, and so I'm building one right now.
You're always on planes, that's why.
I spent most on planes, and so didn't necessarily need a work from home setup. Now is definitely the time to invest. That is, I think everyone across the board, being hunched over a laptop for the next 8 weeks or however long is not going to be good for anyone. And so I think, really making sure that, I bought a monitor off of Amazon, bought a computer stand and all that good stuff. So
awesome.
Now
give me just a little bit of sense, just at Bain, some of the differences in transitions that you guys are making as a team to make sure you stay connected, to make sure everything's as seamless to this as possible.
Yeah. So, across Bain Capital Ventures, all of our offices are working remotely. And so not just those of us in San Francisco and Palo Alto. And so, one of the changes that we made was actually adding a full team meeting over Zoom, which is, a barrage of windows, and is actually something that we don't normally do. We don't have a weekly team meeting. We have team meetings, they're just not on a weekly basis. But this is something that we're doing, that we're trying out to sort of stay connected, because in this moment, something that's going to be really important for everyone is feeling connected. Yeah. And I think that's an obvious thing to say.
I'm curious, is it making you, is it potentially making you talk to more people than you traditionally would, just because you're getting on calls with people that you otherwise just like don't see on a daily basis when you're out traveling outside of the office?
Yeah, I mean, well, certainly actually one thing that I've tried to do is just actually get rid of a lot of calls. I think when you're in an environment where, you are working with, when you're seeing people in person, you're on calls and things like that, it's not that important. But I think in this moment, it feels really important to just see people. And so as much as possible, I tried to transition every phone call that I have to a Zoom.
Cool.
There's also so much data that, you get from seeing someone's face, watching like,
you got to see people.
You got to see people. We're human beings. We're social creatures. You have to see people.
That's really cool. I'm curious, just anything that your CEOs are starting to do to spread the message to employees, to help sort of make sure everyone stays on the same page, to sort of recreate that culture online.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the, founders that I've worked with all have been super communicative with their teams. And that to me is, first and foremost, the thing that we need to do to sort of get through this moment is just, no one knows exactly what to do. This is an unprecedented situation. And so inevitably people are going to make wrong decisions. Yeah. And I think if you're communicating the data that you're looking at, the conclusions that you're drawing from that data, and then the policies you're setting based on those conclusions, then I think that actually, I'm sorry for the distraction. This is another thing about working from home. To make sure that everyone,
oh my goodness,
has a place. He's back there eating a box. So another thing I have to do with my work from home setup is figure out what in the heck to do with this guy.
That's gonna be a lot of. That's gonna be a lot of people.
There's gonna be a lot of people, and also he's pretty easy.
So people know it's real time.
He's
This is what it's gonna be like.
But
That's amazing.
Anyway, that was the noise you were hearing in the background.
No, it's all good. Give me a sense, just if you think about the role of a CEO in maintaining culture over the next, call it 2 to 3 months. Is it emails? Is it making sure that they're on those Zoom calls? What are the things that you think are important for them to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think a bunch of us are going to be communicating using tools that maybe we're not used to. Like, I was never a heavy user of Slack. Certainly now, this is the moment where it's started. It's time for me to get serious about my Slack usage. And so, every mode of communication has its own style. And so, like, I'm still kind of, getting used to how people speak over Slack. And I think, again, I personally am just trying to over communicate so that, people don't misinterpret. I may not know or be fully up to date on Slack etiquette. And so in the cases in which I breach it, hopefully people don't get hopefully over communication means that my message won't get lost.
Yep.
And then, the biggest loss, obviously, that we're going to have being fully remote is just that, you can't have the same water cooler conversations, those like little moments you run into someone and ask them a question because you see them. And like really those moments of serendipity. And like, within venture, I think a lot of what we do is driven by serendipity, right? Like you just happen to be at a conference that a founder is at, you bump into, you have a great conversation, and it can be the beginning of a great relationship. And so that kind of stuff isn't going to happen right now. And we just need to think about ways that, be cognizant of that and think about ways that we can try to come as close to replicating that in the digital world.
What are some of the things that you think you'll try to do to keep in touch on the VC side? So how do you maintain relationships, whether that's deal flow, whether that's just checking in with people, the people you used to get coffee with weekly, how do you stay in touch with them if it's just digital?
Yeah. So, I think that one of the beautiful things that at least I've seen over the past few weeks is, people being very proactive about reaching out and that not being a weird thing. And so I do think that we are in this moment where it is welcome from an etiquette perspective to reach out and check on people that you're close to. Outside of that, I think we're gonna have to get really creative. Certainly the volume of texts and Slacks and emails that have gotten, has gone up, but I think it's time to start trying virtual coffee dates. And if that means you are on video kind of making your coffee, your filtered coffee together,
but maybe just hanging out.
Maybe we could start doing episodes of House Hunters. I don't know if you remember that on MTV or we definitely have to have some fun with it. Oh, MTV Cribs. That's what I was thinking of, not House Hunters. Do some cribs or something
What do you think is going to be essential for you around just keeping your routine? Like, how, do you get up? Do you put an outfit on? Do you try to eat at the same times? Like, what do you think are the setups and best practices there?
Yeah, so I don't think I have anything to say here that isn't generally accepted practice around having a routine is really important, and even more so, now. But I think, to that extent too, it's an evolving process. Yesterday, San Francisco was not shelter in place. Today it is. So I can't claim to have come to, a conclusion on what my new routine should be. Only kind of the acknowledgement that this is not likely going to be a 1 week thing. This is going to be, several weeks. And so designing something that feels sustainable and healthy. I have this goal to eat better in this moment.
Good time to do it.
Seems achievable.
A couple more for you. Really appreciate you doing this. Just talk me through sort of how you're communicating with portfolio companies. So are you sharing information? What are some of the things that you're doing to just try to make sure you guys stay on the same page?
Yeah, absolutely. So, certainly checking in, being proactive about sharing the stuff that we're seeing that we're finding helpful. I think that just forwarding links that you see on Twitter is not the right way of going about it. But if you read something and are wow, genuinely, I had good takeaways here. Just given the amount of like information that is out there, you know, finding high credibility sources are you know, continues to, I think, to be important. And you know, I think the other benefit is, you know, Bain Capital Ventures is part of the larger Bain Capital. You know, that sort of gives us, and coronavirus is affecting every single asset class. And so one of the exercises that we're doing at Bain Capital is, you know, thinking from a macro perspective about the impacts across all of the different asset classes, private equity, debt, public equity, you know, real estate, life sciences, all the different funds that we have, and really thinking about, okay, you know, what's going to be the macro effect, and then how does that translate to each asset class? And so, you know, as that work evolves and as that work solidifies, you know, sharing that proactively with our founders, because it is, you know, people who are dedicated to thinking about this in this moment, and that's a hard thing for a startup to do, to create like a coronavirus SWAT team. But it's something that, you know, an investor, just like given sort of their position in the ecosystem, is able to do. And so, you know, that's, I think, how I'm thinking a lot about, you know.
That's super interesting. Last one for you, just as someone that used to be on planes, trains, and automobiles all week, you know, what are the things you're worried about with your routine just being all at home now? You know, how are you starting to just at least prepare for kind of being in the saddle for a little bit?
Yeah, you know, I was feeling good about it, and like, you know, even looking forward to taking a break from traveling, and then all the gyms closed. Then I got a little worried. You know, I'm definitely someone like who like needs to stay active, and so, you know, I need to figure out what I'm going to do about that.
It's still early, as you said.
It's still early. You know, my hope is that eventually, you know, some of these can start to come back online sooner rather than later. But that's something that's sort of high on my mind right now. But, you know, I have seen a few people talk about, you know, using this moment as a way to reconnect with people who are important to you. And like, that is a beautiful sentiment. And, you know, I think that obviously we are poised for difficult times ahead, and a lot of, you know, things are going to come out of this that, you know, are going to affect people's lives negatively to very, very negatively. But if, you know, you can use this moment to reconnect with people who are important to you, you know, take the time to actually go to the gym on a regular basis, eat better, things like that. You know, you can sort of hopefully like not feel like you're kind of treading water in this moment.
Well, I look forward to doing round 2 of this in a little bit. Jamison Hill from Bain Capital Ventures. Appreciate you as always, man. Good to see you.
You too, man.
Okay.
Great chatting.
Bye.
Bye.